It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be doing another forum discussion because this one I think was pretty interesting to see. Which is something I've been stating many times. And they say, damn, playing a low tier killer is horrible right now. Which, do I need to say more, you know? How often have I been talking about this topic? But let's continue, right? So it says, since the latest season started, if you play anything else than a very mobile killer with some anti-loop, you're gen rush to oblivion. Hell, you get gen rushed even if you play one of them on most matches. LOL. Gen's popping like a madman, blank. It feels horrible right now. I don't really enjoy playing most of the very mobile killers, sadly, so I'm just blank sideways. The hell happened with gen speeds? Now, what's funny is that I've been literally stating this just day in and day out with these damn videos. Like, we've just been covering this constantly. And I've been talking about the giant gap between the S tiers and the F tiers and talking about how S tier is really just the only way to level the playing field. Not even to overpower the meta or to even do extraordinarily well, but to keep up, right? Because usually when you pick S tier in a game or something like that, or the strongest thing in the game, you want to exceed past the normal success. Like, you want to be the best you can be, the top level, you know what I mean, the triple S rank. Like, you want to do that thing, you want to speed run something or whatever have you. But that's not what's happening with the S tiers. The S tiers are now what keeps you in line with what we're dealing with nowadays. Not even keeping you above where it's like, oh, now you're just playing sweaty. No. We're playing at the same exact level that we need to be with the S tier specifically. That's the only thing that can help you keep up in this current game. And let's go ahead and continue. So right off the bat, this person says there's gen speeds going around right now with the new chapter. Yep. Like, yep. We already covered that in a previous video. 17 seconds gens in the PTB. So what does that tell you? So then this person says, which I remember they're probably a Survivor main. So they say, genuinely, there's not much else to do on Survivor, which this ties back into the solution I've covered in another video previously, which has to do with the gen speed issue and how I would personally fix it. You should probably watch that. But I was thinking, why not have side upgrades, right? Why don't we partition the gens? It's better explained in the video, but, like, you know, maybe we partition the gens so that you repair it a certain amount, and then you have to go find a part somewhere. You put it into that gen, and then you can continue to progress it and have it like be in like parts. You can kind of split it up in that way. That to me would be a lot more effective, because then it makes it more interesting, can help create basic slowdown, and also will be a lot more engaging to be able to have to explore and look through the maps and chests and things to try to find a part that you can put into that thing. So then this person says, with how oppressive mobility killers and gen regression are. So right off the bat, gen regression is not oppressive. It's really not. It's only impressive with a mobility killer, but even then, that is because they go hand in hand to create a balanced experience for the killer side. Because keep in mind that without mobility, you're just a regular killer. With gen regression, it's not that crazy. But if you're playing Blight, you can be across the map, and the gen regression is way more effective because it has more time for the damage that you did with that regression. Because usually it's damage and regression. So the damage that you did would be much more effective because it's not insta repaired the second it lands, like Eruption does, or Surge or whatever, where it's like instantaneously just filled right back up, even though you just took like all that time to even get down in the first place. So you cannot blame survivors for being optimal to counter it. We can, because they contribute to that endless cycle. Both ways, it's a response, right? Because one is trying to keep up with the gen speed, and the gen speed is to keep up with that. It's an Ouroboros, it's an endless cycle. But you can blame survivors for being optimal to counter it, because they also contribute to those things. If every survivor stopped doing that, there might be way less people trying to counter it in that sense. On top of the other issues that we can add on to it, say if we buff the lower tiers, so there's more killer variety, yada yada yada. We talked about this before. So it says it sucks, but they need to give survivors more reasons to do other things aside from gens, which is what I was saying earlier. Lower tiers need buffs. I agree with that too. They say my idea is to have survivors be required to build and unboard god palettes and windows. If they choose to rush gens, their chases will be weaker, vice versa. Simple core gameplay mechanic that gives them something to do other than jump on gens with the best gen perks. Right now they have to give everything for free with the most bane rotted perks that give instant value. Thank you Diablo 916 for that, because this is so freaking true. We have a lot of perks in the game right now that are on Survivor that are literally just like point and click, like you just hit, or you press button and you go, and it's like, why does that exist? And people can argue and say, oh, but there's other perks that don't do that. Sure, but what I'm referring to is the meta. Think about what's meta. The meta, it quite literally is, if you look at it, all anti-interaction perks. All of those perks are activating without any activation. So for example, like Windows is just on at all times, or Deja Vu is on at all times, or even Dramaturge, you just have it, like, you know what I mean? Sprint Burst, you can just have it, and its effect for just what you have to do is just press sprint and you're flying across the entire map. Like what do you need to learn from the game? Like there pretty much isn't anything to learn. And that's what's being stated in here. It's a zero incentive to learn the game when you can slap on Windows and run to yellow, which is very true. And they say in the opposite case for the boarding, when there are too many gens left and not enough hook states or survivors, I mean, this in itself is a perfect change. I don't really understand how they could refute it, but hey, here we are. So this person's, oh yeah, I've seen another survivor main. So they say nothing really changed. I had a killer DC last night citing gen rushing, but I was the only one in the lobby with my single gen perk, and it was just Deja Vu. You see what I'm saying? Never do they take into account, the HUD looks like there's a lot of gens flying. And this right here is what I was trying to tell you guys when it comes down to the gaslighting in the game. This is another example that I'm showing you. You see this from every survivor main, because they have zero understanding of what the hell that's going on. They just see the HUD and they see gens going up and they're like, oh, okay, it's just the killer's fault. It's like, no. Gen speed in general is just ridiculous. The map design, palette density, gen speed, like all of these things go hand in hand, and it makes it impossible for a lot of characters that are in the game to keep up. So by being gaslit into saying that you just have to spread pressure better, it doesn't answer the response, and it's an on point. It doesn't actually tell you everything that you need to know. Now, are there killer players with skill issues? Yes. There's plenty of players out there that need to be able to learn pathing better, get your M1s better, know your power better, use your thing better, whatever have you, and you're relying on perks and stuff like that. There's over reliance on perks. Yes, those things do remain true. And that's why I've been putting out match reviews and guides to help people that are like, new or trying to learn to be the best they can be. That's what it's there for. Because I still am fully aware that despite the fact that gens are fast, there's also a skill issue going on with killer side too. But those things can be true at the same time. Like you can also be an extremely good player and still have insane gen speed. It's not like an end all be all in that sense. It goes both ways. It's nuance. This person says it's not a problem with gen speeds in my opinion, which is incorrect, but we'll get to that in a moment. But it says higher tier killers can apply enough pressure to deal with it unless you have a coordinated team on comms. So you basically just disagree with your own point, because if it's only higher tier killers that can apply that, what are the higher tier killers? What, like 3, right? Nurse Blight, right? Pretty much. You can maybe argue maybe Kennedy, but he's an A tier, so he's not like technically. But yeah, we can even change the statement into saying mobility killers can apply enough pressure to deal with it. But that means that, oh, I don't know, the rest of the roster can't. So no, it is the gen speed problem at the end of the day, because if we're excluding the S tiers, which are unaffected by everything, then we have to look at the rest. And if the rest are suffering, that means that overall is the bigger problem. So let's continue. The problem is that behavior doesn't have the resource to rework the growing mountain of old content, including buffing the low tiers to make them competitive against more than just brand new survivors. Which, yes, that's actually true. It seems that they've simply abandoned all efforts updating older killers and are focused only on new content and events now, which I wouldn't say that they completely done that, but they certainly take their sweet time. This is an interesting one. It says, what may be old to me may be new to someone else, may be low level to someone, may be high level to me. Some people are attracted to strength, others are attracted to weakness. I don't like tier lists that make much sense. High frequency of change may leave some people behind. Very true. It's very well said, I gotta say. And then this person says there are 4 survivors, which is true. They go, oh, what's the opposite case of that? And it's like, no, there's no opposite case to have. Like, the survivors have received incredible changes for a while now. Like, they're good. Like, they're fine. They don't need more. They're okay. You know, I've even seen comments of people saying, like, they stopped playing Survivor because it's too easy. Like, they got bored. They're like, what the heck is this? You know what I mean? I think Survivor's fine. Like, they don't really need more. They're okay. Like, there were 4 survivors, bro. They need to stop catering to babies and actually focus on their veteran players who know how to play the game. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I saw another comment in a different forum post that had to say that with killers, they balance around what the highest level killer can do. But with Survivor, they only balance around what the lowest level Survivor player can do. And honestly, I don't know if it was a forum post or if it was in a YouTube comment. I'm getting them mixed up. But that is such a true statement. I never would have thought of it that way, in such a simple way. It's like explained so well. But at the end of the day, it's so true, right? Everyone agrees that gen speeds can need to be looked at, and my idea is a core mechanic that punishes gen rush. They punish camping and tunneling, yet leave gen rush untouched, which is true. They keep trying to attack strategy on killer and attack this on killer and nerf killer and nerf killer and nerf killer, and it's like, but the core problem has always been gen speed. The only reason that people even have to use the strategies in the first place is because of gen speed. That's at the end of the day. Because keep in mind, the gameplay loop is to prevent them from being on the generators. If the survivor is in the match, they can provide pressure. Their existence provides pressure. It's just how it goes. If the survivor's in the game, they can pick up your spray on Wesker. They can pick up an EMP. They can reveal you on Ghostface. Like, they can disable a drone on Skull Merchant. They could close a trap on Trapper. So you need to remove that survivor from the match in order to have that not happen as often. Because with all 4, they can all do something at the same time. So of course, that's why the strategies happen. Let's continue. So survivors can afford to spend a little time in order to set up strong pallets and windows. I agree with that. That's very true. Let's see. So it says, this person says, ideally, killer starts out macro, moves into micro as the game progresses, while survivor starts with micro, moves into macro. Currently, killer starts with micro, ends micro, while survivor starts macro and ends macro. I mean, it just seems like a bunch of yip yap, but I don't know. Your solution only pushes macro harder on survivor while giving killer the power roll even more breaks. What breaks do killers have? Excuse me? What break? Huh? Whoa. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe they meant to say they're pushing the macro harder onto killer while giving survivor the power roll even more breaks. Because keep in mind, there's 4 survivors, so you're chasing one at a time while 3 gens fly. Like, there's... What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Bro, that's what I'm saying. Don't listen to these people, bro. They don't know what they're freaking talking about, bro. It's crazy, man. That's why I tell you guys, man, you gotta analyze it a little bit. You gotta look at the language, look at the stuff like this, because it will give you everything you need to know. So let's see. So let's see. They're not doing gens to counter it. They're doing gens because that's the objective. They don't know what killer they're gonna face. Their builds and toolboxes are in their hands before they know anything. That's not entirely true. You know, let's not infantilize these survivor players. Let's not make them think that they're stupid. Like, they know what they're gonna go up against. If they understand the game, they're gonna be like, well, they're probably gonna pick mobility. If they don't, then it's probably gonna be like at least a slightly lower tier killer that doesn't have mobility but has a teleport. Like, it's like they're like, survivor players are not stupid. Like, let's be so for real. Number 1. 2, they pick toolboxes because they know it makes the objective faster. So of course they're countering it. Duh. Like, you know what I mean? You know, I'm just saying, you know. But anyway, plus sometimes even the loading screen tells you the killer, but regardless, it says it says don't matter who you play, you're gonna get gen rush. If they want to win, you're gonna do gens fast, which is every time. I agree with that. They say you can play high mobility killers all you want. If there's gen rushing, you better get consistent 25-second downs, which is actually 100% true. I know I came off a little crazy on that first response there, but nah, they're kind of cooking right now. If you're spreading hooks, you better get a consistent 10-second downs, and that's really good killers. If you're playing killers with bad mobility, you might as well grab your toolbox and help them. God damn, he's cooking. Gen potential is the real issue. Lower it. Nobody should be popping a gen by themselves in 30-some seconds. Thank you. So my apologies for the craziness on the earlier in the comment, because goddamn, he cooked it up. So let's continue here. So this person is just saying some more brain rot. I'm gonna read it for you guys. They say M1 killers aren't making money, so why should they bother buffing them? Huh? Like what? M1 killers aren't making money. I'm like, like what does that have to do with the point? What does that have to do with the point, bro? Look what happened to Myers. We worked him in a second. They found out his license was going away and made sure to coax him a couple more bucks out of people. Money talks, and that's why Ghoul is still the way he is right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what I'm saying. These people don't know what on earth they're talking about. Like, bro, huh? They already planned a rework, like I think about a year ahead of time. Like they finally decided to pop it out, and it just so happened it lined up with the license like removal. Like, duh. It's not like they're gonna schedule it like right before that. Like that's just ridiculous. That makes no sense. Why would you waste all that time and energy to rework something that's gonna get removed from the store? Like, if anything, you lose money because that means like you don't have people like that are new that can buy the chapter. Like, what? Especially because it's Halloween, for crying out loud. Like people like that's like literally the scary movie that everybody knows about. They're gonna want to keep that in the game and buy it, get people to buy it. Like, what are we talking about? I don't know what they're talking about. Anyway. Here goes Survivor Mains. Here we go. So they want to say it's outrageously uncommon. Uncommon for who though? They never explain that. So, oh, this is another. Camping and tunneling doesn't equal to a single survivor popping a gen in 30-some seconds. If a survivor is popping gens like that, better do whatever you can. And yeah, it's true. I mean, if they're popping gens quickly, your only response is to get somebody out just as fast. But that's just how it works. So let's see. So they say the very niche, the very rare niche. See, this is the language they use. They say outrageously uncommon, right? Then they say the very niche. Like, no, it's not niche and it's not uncommon. And even if it is, then the next question is, where is the gen speed coming from? Because if they're not running these builds, then how is the gen speeds flying at the same exact speed as those perks? Because, okay, let's say you can argue, hey, those builds are not common. Okay. Then why are we getting 4-minute, 30-second games? How do you explain the math behind that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what? This requires luck with Bardic, which that's not entirely true because 1, 2, 3, 4 exists now. When I was running Commodious and meta add-ons, Deja Vu and Old Streetwise, I wasn't getting gens done that fast, so you're probably just by yourself without it might be even referring to before 1, 2, 3, 4 even came out. Hard tunneling at 5 gens happens to be way more than someone bringing a build like that as either killer or survivor. I mean, yeah, why do you think though that happens? Gen speed is already crazy, but you got to keep in mind with these people, they don't ever think outside the box. Why do you think that strategy occurs? It's a response to the gen speed. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Here goes another survivor main, by the way. They say that the average killer is as bad as the average survivor. The only problem is though, is that if you're bad on killer, you're gonna just lose. But if you're bad on survivor, you still have 3 other people that can just help you out. And also shift W pre-drop pallet. You know what I mean? Because gens will still get done regardless if you're bad at the game or not. And if you're just simply holding W and pre-dropping, your other teammates are just on gens, you're fine. Like, you don't necessarily have to worry about you by yourself being bad. Now, if there's more than one player that's complete hot ass on the goddamn game when on survivor, you're probably going to end up losing a little bit more often. But keeping in mind that like a lot of the people you may face against on Survivor just have no idea what the hell they're doing. In the sense that they just shift W pre-drop, don't actually want to engage with the actual chase aspects, then of course. And then we have the usual response of, oh, I play killer, which they don't. They say every killer I had practice with have an above average kill rate, but he doesn't actually mention what is it that what is it about the, not only like the killer you're playing, but the pick rate. What is the kill rate? What is the hours? Like what is the, like what are we talking about? But they just say, oh, I play killer, so therefore I never have to tunnel and camp. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're not even providing any data, you're not providing any evidence, you're not providing anything that can even strengthen your statement. So all it says to us is that you're playing at a low MMR, because that's the only reason you're going to be succeeding every single game back to back, because you're not at a level where people understand how to counter your character, because they're not at that experience level yet. They're not winning consistently yet. They don't understand yet. Do you see what I'm saying? Look at how they ended. They say so many killers think they're good at the role, but they're not. The game favors them, so they think they are. You see what I mean? Like, it's always, they always slip it in there. That their clear bias is always slipped in there. They have literally zero understanding of what they're talking about. They have no idea what's going on. And then right there it says, I am solo queue. See? So what does that tell you? Right? What does that tell you? Don't listen to these people, man. Like, there's always a couple things that are like super common that within these statements and stuff like that. And I think it actually goes like, I think it actually goes off the hinges here. Let's see. So it says, the only ones that do exceptional are the high MR 4-mans, are only so common. That's another thing I also noticed too. They like to say that Swift isn't common. Like, of course it's common. Stop lying, bro. So I'm not even like, I might have to fact check this eventually, but I'm not gonna waste my time doing that right now. Yo, what the hell are they talking about? Yo, they're pulling out like old ass data, bro. This is very old. I'm not about to keep going though, because I think it just kind of devolves into like brain rot. But either way, I gotta say, appreciate you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, let me know your thoughts. And if you really want to support the channel, consider becoming a member, or even joining the Patreon, or even you can sub on Twitch and have your name at the end of every video. I will see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off our members from Patreon. Pro King 101, YouTube members: Cargan Falcon, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not J-Lo, Evil Peach, Cozy Bozy, Theo Endire, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. And for the Twitch, we have Final Girl Bunny, Leona Art, Zazabu, Evil Blade, Danica, Crow Vader, Cake is a Road, Zeneron, Ginsburg, Mr. Morik, Kevin, Zero Mocker, Ashai Boo, and Gryffindor. Appreciate you guys supporting. Really means a lot. If you want to become a member, you can go ahead and join through Patreon or YouTube members, or even sub on Twitch. See you guys in the next one.